Welcome back as we continue our series of basic sales for training and insurance agents. As you may recall, we started out talking about generating leads, especially generating them automatically so that you don't have to work as hard. Might as well have something going on in the background while you're trying to go about other means of generating leads. To recap, remember we talked about people being like a match with basically uh, people are like a match in that when they first strike or you get them warmed up, they are all fired up. But as soon as the fire goes out, they're nothing more than wood or wood like in this particular analogy. And you can't strike a piece of wood or wood match without having the phosphorus on top in order to strike. The other side that we talked about was generating leads from multiple sources and having the wheels turning 24/7 so you have leads coming in where you can actually make money instead of having to focus on one area and trying to make money while you're using what we defined as time consuming tasks. We discussed last time about how to start a web page. To start a web page, you have to have a domain name. That's so people know where to find you. Then you find a host where you could park your domain name. And at that host, you purchase a website builder so that you could build your website page. And then we talked about building a website or a web page. So today we want to start talking about what to do after you've built a web page. Assuming that you've got all your flair put in your web page and not somebody else's flair, or perhaps you designed or had somebody design a web page, but you told them what you wanted. Now you have to decide how are you going to get the word out there. Again, referring back to the field of dreams, they're not just going to come because you built it. So forget about just having a website and all of a sudden people are going to come. You've got to have advertising. You've got to have a way to find your website. You've got to have things that people are looking for when they are searching for your product or your website. So to do that, you could start with one of the three main leaders in online advertising. That would be Google Ads, Facebook advertising, or perhaps Microsoft ads. If you know your market where you're trying to advertise or the people that you're trying to reach, then any of those three could be appropriate. On the other hand, you might find one service better than another one depending on the age group you're trying to reach. And if you want to reach people of all ranges, Facebook advertising is one of the better ways, while Google Ads can be focused towards seniors. Microsoft Ads the same way. Both of those ads can be the Google and Microsoft advertising can be constructed in such a way that the people in a particular area, a particular state or group of states, or of a particular demographic, say 65 and older, they would be targeted in those ads, and you can generate your leads based on that. So let's move on. Now that we know where we can place our advertising, let's talk about posting your website. After it's constructed and people know where to find you, how do you get your information out so that people can turn or look you up in the search engines and find your page? Of those most common social media are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Parler, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. That's the most popular, although there are numerous ones else out there. In Facebook alone, and we'll discuss this even further, but with Facebook, you have your basic Facebook page for social activity, where everybody talks about everything in their life. You also have Facebook groups where you might talk about a certain issue that you're interested in and that fits around your brand. You might start a business page for Facebook where people can go and see more about your brand or your product. So, yeah, there's a number of different ways in, especially Facebook and LinkedIn to some degree, um, and some other sources like this, where you can have multiple things going on and be out there all over the place. And that's part of what branding is all about, is recognition, especially for people that are that know your brand and will go hopping from one site to another. Newspaper ads is another place to post your website. A lot of websites, especially media websites, provide local and free advertising. For example, out of Raleigh, you can go on to WRAL, which is one of the big TV stations, and you can advertise with them at least electronically and pay a minimal amount, but yet be available to their entire crew. Their entire group of people that watch their services. You might try something like it's now called Johnson County something or other. It used to be 4042.com. Now it's something about Johnson County. It provides local advertising for various things, marketplace and whatnot, and uh, the site is all free. You could put print ads in the paper with your website on it, your telephone number, how to be reached, and a brief description or sales pitch for what you're offering. Also, there's block ads. These are block sections like 1 by 1, 2 by 1, 2 by 2, and larger. It all depends on the media. You can purchase those for mm, reasonable amounts, although not necessarily as cheap as some others. But you can put your information in there, like your business logo and business information, email address, uh, um, your web page, things like that. That way, people get to know you the more that you keep out there in front of them. Finally, again, we're looking at basically a high level overview of everything before we get into nitty gritty, but magazines are another good source. One I've recently used is Reminder Media. They send out a magazine to your customers uh, every month for you. You can advertise through them on Facebook. You can advertise uh, at other places. They send out a monthly um, electronic or physical copy of the magazine that they put out with your information in it. People can hang on to the printed word, or they can bookmark your page on your web browser and have instant information and access to the magazine that they provide. Some locations have senior magazines, some have community magazines, like, for example, you might find the coffee paper seen in a lot of restaurants and small stores. Or they remember the day when they used to have placemats. There's places that still have those that advertise businesses on them. So if you're on that, you're constantly in somebody's face until the plate goes down. Anyway, then you have your business card you want to set up with your business name and information, as well as your phone number and website. I actually have two cards. I have my company card, and then I have my website listed on my other card. That way, when I give them a business card, I give them the website card, they can go look me up and see more of what I'm about than and just talking about it briefly in a 30-minute elevator speech. You can use decals. You can use license plates. I put my website on my license plate on the front of the car. That way people could see it. If I'm parked in a way that they could see it by the curb, then they see the business. I've since changed it, so I've got to do one of those again, but that's another story. You could also put your website on multiple office supplies, on blogs. You can create a QR code where people can scan the code and go directly to your website, and all that for free. And at least the office, the blog and or the QR code. So we've basically gone over, again, it's high level, it's not very detailed. I decided to make it light so that we can just get the wheels turning. But these are ways, once you have a website, to start generating business advertising, as well as be able to gather leads because your name is out there. Next week or next time, let's talk about social media and how to effectively use social media and what not to do in some cases. And with that, we'll see you next time.